Good morning. We are somewhere here in Alaska, and this is our first day of excursion, and we are going to.
Ketchikan, Alaska.
And what are we going to do there?
We'll see later.
So we are technically just woke up, and we will tour you around Ketchikan,
Yes.
Alaska, and
Let's do this later.
good morning, bird. Pretty cool bird. Oh, pretty cool. Thank you. What a cool bird. Cool bird he is. We are waiting for our tour this morning, and that's 10 a.m. We're gonna go around the town of Ketchup. We're going around the town of Ketchup.
I thought you were going to
Get for me. Good morning to the crew. Let's do this. Good morning, crew. Say hi to the squad. Alright. Coffee time, guys. Man. Okay, we are heading out Ketchikan, Alaska with my main girl, Nane. Good morning. Okay, heading out for day one excursion here in Ketchikan, Alaska, and we have the whole gang, the Team Demets. Let's go. So you need to be ahead of everybody to catch everybody on video, so I need to run. Let's go, let's go. This is how you do it. This is how you do it. Okay. Now we're here to see all the cast. This is Yuan and Alice there. There is our mom, Del, our ate, Ellen, Eric, son, Julian, Bea, Anika, Irene, Anna, Lucas, and there's Solen and Althea. There's Eric and Alma. Let's go. Let's go, guys. Beautiful Ketchikan morning, Alaska. And of course, that's our ship. Pretty good. Discovery Princess, guys. Discovery Princess. Woo. Nice. So we are off the ship, and you can see all this excursion, and all you have to do is find your group. Pretty cold, nice weather, love it. We are a group of 16 exploring Ketchikan, guys, Alaska. Let's go. All right, we'll be back to you. Okay, so I'm gonna introduce my co-host for today's vlog. He's the coolest. He's the coolest of them all. Mr. Liwanag, aka Song Byuk Juk. Song Byuk Juk. What the hell? Okay, here we go. Here's our tour guide right here, and my co-host again, Mr. Liwanag. Jokbong Shok.
No cameras, please. No cameras, please.
Okay. So she's collecting all our tickets right now for the tour. Meron. Washington State.
Give me all your tickets.
Huskies. Huskies.
Tickets. Binigay ko na nga.
Alright, so tickets are all in. And we are ready for the walking tour. Are you ready for this morning's tour?
Yep.
Okay, how about your mom? No reaction.
Katapat naman sa mukha ng gusto.
Ganito ba yung ano? Maraming babati sa akin.
No, Washington Huskies.
WSU ka lang.
I'm gonna count these, and then once I
Okay.
make sure that we got everyone here for this tour, I'm then gonna settle with this Lumberjack. And so I'm gonna do a quick count. Actually, let me see how many people I'm supposed to have. Let me check if we have anybody else. Thank you. 10:15 sound starting to load. So you can just continue to the tour itself will be 90 minutes of easy walk. You can just continue to wait around this area. I'll holler from whenever I'm ready to go. So 23. So I'm gonna do a quick count.
I'm gonna go run and do it. Let me go do it.
23. Right. Seems like we got everyone here. So again, I'm gonna go settle these with Shorex, and then I'll let you know when we are. Hey there. So, Lumberjack show. That would be the gal in the red
Okay.
panel.
Okay, the tour is beginning. So we are doing a 25-minute walk, Ketchikan tour. Let's do it. Historical.
You can come close to me here. I want to make sure all of you can hear me and all of you can see me. Those in the back. Okay. A little closer. A little more closer. Alright. And if there's at any point where you cannot hear me or you cannot see me during the tour, please raise your hand or point to your ear to let me know, and I'll either accommodate you to stand in the front so you can see me or hear me better, or I will just talk as loudly as you need me to, which I probably will have to do anyways while we're going past all the busy traffic here in town. But good morning, folks. How are y'all doing today?
Good.
Good. All right. My name is Meta. I'm going to be your guide for today. Remember my name by Metamucil, Metaverse, Metamorphosis, whatever comes to mind helps you remember best, because I've heard pretty much all of them, I think, at this point. If anything else, I might like you to come up with some new nicknames for me, maybe something a little more original. But today we're going to be going on a historical walking tour of Ketchikan, where I'm going to be talking about the history, of course, native culture, wildlife, and more. And I myself am a member of the Ketchikan tribe found throughout Southeast Alaska, and my clan is Teapodi, and I'll go into what all that means and the complications of my family. Now, here in Ketchikan, we are on an island. Our island is Revillagigedo, about 50 miles long, 35 miles wide. Population here is about 13,000 year-round residents, and 8,000 of which actually live in the city portion of Ketchikan. We also have the nickname of Rain City for reasons that we might feel today. We'll see, but if we do, you should be celebrating, because then you're getting the true Ketchikan experience. And I say that because our nickname is Rain City, because on average, we get about 12 to 13 feet of rain every year. Depending on where you're from, you might need some of that rain. Now, also, being in Alaska, I think that we get a lot of snow here. Not the case. We normally only get, getting close to about 5 feet of snow every year. Anything that is about 5 feet of snow that lasts for about a week is a long winter for us. And that is because the rain goes year round. And in fact, most of that snow that comes down will only stick for a couple hours before getting washed away all in the same day. That's why the ski resort is up in Juneau. Now, average winter temperatures, about 30 to 40 degrees Fahrenheit. Can get a little bit colder than that. Certainly not cold enough for our ocean to freeze over down here. And average summer temperatures, about 50 to 70 degrees Fahrenheit. And anything getting close to 70, too hot for us locals, we'll start down the heat stroke. And so today is perfect for me, as I am born and raised local as well. Now, on this tour, please feel free to take as many photos as you like during the duration. There'll be sometimes there'll be better photo opportunities than others. I'll let you know when would be a good time at those specific spots. And if you felt like you weren't able to get any good photos while we're going at a different stop on the tour, you'll certainly feel free to visit those same spots on the way back here. Now I say that because I will be leaving you at Ketchikan, so it will be up to you to make your way back to Berth or here, and so you can either walk back. It's only about 15-20 minutes to walk back here. I'll just make it seem like it's a long walk, or you can catch the free downtown shuttle that'll drop you off back here too. And as we're walking on this tour, I'm going to be going the same pace as everyone to make sure that nobody's going to get left behind here. And so with that, I do ask everybody please stay walking behind me on the tour, because if you do try to walk too far ahead of me and you end up going down the wrong corner, I will be a penalty. So I apologize in advance.
Alright, we are about to begin, guys. Quick briefing on what to do.
Please ask me as many questions as comes to mind. Because the more questions you ask me, the better you will remember the experience. And it'll be more interactive, more memorable. So I'll continue to hound you all for questions.
Many questions,
until
more
I get something
interactive,
I can answer for you. So are there
more
any
lesson
questions?
on this historical walk
We'll
tour.
try again later.
Alright, so
And
what are your
how does
thoughts?
that all sound?
Please, no cameras.
Ready to go?
No cameras. No cameras.
Follow me. Head going this way.
Alright, so let's go. So here's the group. Alright, I'll get back to you.
No, I feel like this wider plate bombers come here. What do you think?
Right. Welcome to our first stop. This is Hopkins Alley. A few things I can point out around here, but the first thing I want to point out to y'all is wood under our feet. Now this wood that we're standing on, this is western hemlock. Western hemlock trees make up about 70% of our southeastern forest. Now the forest that we're in, to be specific, is the Tongass National Rainforest that spans the entirety of Southeast Alaska all the way up to Yakutat and down here a little bit further south of us too. And so that hemlock makes about 70% of it. The reason why there's so much of it, well, it's a little bit of a thinner tree to begin with, and kind of has a more live fast, die young cycle, at least compared to some of the other trees like the spruces and the cedars that we have. And western hemlock will be one of the first trees that'll help to reclaim fallen areas of forest, as well as red alder, our most common deciduous tree, the leafy type of trees. Now, as for reasons why we're on wood right here, well, this street, and this is the street, hence the two cars right there, that still drive on it today. It's actually the front road of Ketchikan way back in the day. So all those little shops that are now facing out towards there used to be facing in towards here long ago. And believe it or not, all of the roads and docks, and I do mean all of them, used to be made out of wood just like this. Reason for that is because most of Ketchikan is actually built over top of the water. Now, reason for the town mostly being built over top of the water, well, these settlers that came here to Ketchikan, way back in those days, they could only build on the hillsides right next to the shoreline. And as Ketchikan was expanding more and more into a large community until it became the city that you're in right now, it was much easier for them to build out their own flatland over top of water rather than try to keep building further and further up these steep hills. Now you're probably thinking, well, why couldn't they just find flat land to begin with, make it easier? Well, they could have, except most of the flat land that you're actually going to find here in Southeast Alaska is muskeg, or our plateau bogs. Reason for most of the flat land being boggy, well, our general climate around here and geography, most of the rain accumulation just rolls right down the mountainside. We'll collect in creeks, rivers, lakes along the way, but it'll all make its way back out into the ocean. for where it's flat, the water just stagnates, can't really roll anywhere. So a lot of moss will grow to soak up that excess water, and these muskegs will act as sponges for the forest. And there's some plants in there that, well, you'll only find in those muskegs. And it does attract a lot of wildlife and is a great resource for wildlife as well, especially when it starts to get a little bit more dry. Easy water source, which also means you get to find a lot of fun amphibians, frogs and salamanders and whatnot in there. Fun fact, we have no reptiles in Alaska. So, that all being said, muskegs, as you can imagine, terrible for building on top of. So this was kind of the only option that our settlers had. Now, as for how Ketchikan got settled to begin with, story that kind of goes is that during the 1800s, we had a lot of Scandinavian immigrant fishermen, especially Norwegians, that would come to fish our waters for salmon, halibut, black cod, and whatnot during the summer and autumn months. But as winter started to get rolling around and weather started to become nastier, they would head back down south to winter out where it's a little bit nicer. But one year, these fishermen got stuck.
No
They're
cameras,
crushed
no.
over winter. So they
Okay.
staked it out in these cabins and decided that, you know what,
Go back to
not
your-
actually too bad living up there. Over time, that started to become a fishing port until it grew to the city that you are standing in today. And Ketchikan was incorporated as a city in the year 1901. And there are still quite a few families in Ketchikan that have their ancestry to those original Norwegians. And that is also why our houses look a particular way, are more colorful than you might be used to, because they are based off of that original Norwegian architecture style. Any questions? Yes, ma'am. What does Ketchikan mean in Norwegian? So Ketchikan, I don't believe it's actually a Norwegian word. And there is I'll go into what Ketchikan actually means a little bit later in the tour. Any other questions? Any of you kiddos? All right. Well, if there's no more questions, we'll move on to the next stop.
What?
Camera boy. Meron kang sipon.
We'll stop here real quick. So come gather around here. Looking underneath the road, you can see what it actually looks like. This is what it looks like most of the road as you're walking through town. So keep in mind, wherever it's flat has been Ketchikan. So anything kind of out towards that way is on top of pilings or has been filled in. But another thing I want to point out, if you look very closely on the mountains across the way, it's kind of hard to see since it's a little foggy, but you can kind of see there's some markings in the mountainside over there. Now, that island over there is Gravina. Now, here in Ketchikan, we do have an airport, and since we are an island, the only way to get here is either by boat or plane. And although our airport is international, still quite small, we do get 8 flights coming in and out of Ketchikan every day. But to get to your plane at the airport, you do have to take a boat. So you get the all-encompassing experience of Ketchikan trying to get out of here. And so our airport is over on Gravina Island. But those markings in the mountainside you see on Gravina, those are landslides. And landslides, one of our most common natural disasters. And thankfully, we don't get them around the town, at least not too often. And that is because with the way that most of these houses are built, they do have to drill pilings deep into the rock to hold themselves stable, especially since most of the bedrock around here is shale. It's already pretty brittle. You don't want to cause your own landslide. But these landslides, when they're not happening around us, are actually helpful, at least to the forest. The reason that is, well, with forests are, it's quite dense. And as you can imagine, difficult for smaller plants and especially young trees to get enough sunlight to grow nice and tall. And in fact, most saplings will end up dying before they reach full maturity. But when these landslides occur, help to open up that forest bed, promote tons of new plant growth, all that new sunlight and new growing areas. And even in just a decade, that'll be completely covered back over by either small saplings or other plants. Now, imagine that, but on a much larger scale. Now, top 3 industries here in Ketchikan today. Number 1, tourism. As you can see, a lot of that here. That's why we look so cute here, by the way. It's for all of you guests coming to visit us. Number 2 industry is fishing, which did start everything here in Ketchikan. Number 3 is logging. Now, logging does happen on private land today, smaller scale than what it used to, because logging used to be our number 1 industry from the 50s up until the 90s. Now, in most places in the world, logging is seen as a negative thing with lots of destruction of the forest and generally tends to be a lot of unsustainable harvesting practices, unfortunately. But here in Southeast Alaska, our forests can handle logging a bit better than most. And that is, again, because of those landslides, because they're already used to being cleared out naturally. So, with the loggers, the way they're even able to harvest to begin with on federal land is they got a lease with the federal government to harvest for 45 years. And when they would harvest, they would cut down big patches of forest, they would clear cut. But make sure they're not doing too much damage to any one area. They would not cut down all the forest and would move on to the next mountainside over, if not the next island over entirely, to also help distribute the wealth. And even 5 years after you've clear cut some forest, you're already going to see these tons of plants growing back in its place. Ferns, berry bushes, even those saplings too. Give it about 15 years after you've clear cut some forest, those saplings that are, up to your ankles probably about that point, are probably going to be as tall as you, if not even taller now. And give it about 35 years after you've clear cut that forest, those trees may be ready to be harvested all over again, which helps to further reduce logging on already well-established old growth forests. And this forest grows back all on its own, no reseeding or reforesting efforts needed by us humans. Any questions? Yes.
What does logging mean?
Logging. So logging is when you're going down and cutting down trees. You're cutting down the logs from those trees, or making logs out of them.
Oh.
Any other questions? No more questions? No. Oh. All right.
Yung?
Titanic. And also it's the manufacturer of gas.
Still walking on this historical Ketchikan tour, and this is about a 25-minute tour, so I am not cutting any of the significant places. Look at this beetle. Look at that. Beer meat?
Bear.
Oh yeah, let's see. Try some bear meat.
Yeah, because I'm a big fan of Life Below Zero, so I've been convincing this guy to try the subsistence living.
Alright. So you see that Filipino restaurant right there with the flag.
Because this guy right here grew up drinking Alaska milk. Look at him.
Wala
Proud
pa rin
of
tatalo sa Alaska. And I believe we're approaching the tunnels. Because I saw it on a signboard about the downtown. So we are approaching the tunnel. And we are going through it, I believe, because there's no crossing at this point. So we're not crossing the street or made back in 1954, guys. Not so impressive, but
1954 is part of this president's career.
oh yeah, that's another informative thing. Okay, so I'm turning this off since we're inside the tunnel. It's kind of noisy, so I'll get back to you later.
Come over here a little bit more, just you can spread a little bit more over here. All right, can everyone see me and hear me okay? Those in the back, good? All right. I apologize for the traffic in advance, but that tunnel we just went through, you can see inscripted on the front is the year 1954, and that was the year that tunnel was built. Now, as for the reason why it was built, was actually to accommodate trailer homes here to Ketchikan of all things. Now, for younger folk moving up here, much easier for them to barge up their own little mobile home rather than trying to build one all along those hills. And I told you about how they had to drill in and everything like that. With it already being steep, having to carry your stuff up there. So, for the first trailers I got here, about 30 feet length, could make it around Knob Hill here. But once they start getting bigger, say about 50 feet or more, no longer could they squeeze around the hill. And they cannot expand that road there during that time period because right on the other side of the road and other side of the hill was Ketchikan's only coal storage. So, the best thing they could do at that time period was to make the tunnel going straight through the hill itself. And it does hold a place in the Guinness Book of World Records because not only can you walk and drive through it and walk and drive around it, but you can also walk, drive, and of course, live on top of it. And because, yes, great houses up there, and because those houses have great view, a little bit more expensive, especially with the more notable people in Ketchikan living up there and being able to afford living up there back in those days, the locals gave it the nickname of Snob Hill. Now, one more thing about that tunnel, you can see right next to it, there is a large staircase. And you may have been able to see more stairs as we've been walking along through here, but believe it or not, those stairs are a street. And in fact, we have quite a few street stairs here in Ketchikan. They are streets. And because they are streets, they are maintained by the city, and so you don't have to scrape off any snow yourself or salt them or even replace any broken steps, as long as it's not on your porch. But the reason why we have so many street stairs was before we had all the nice, convenient, and easy road access that we have going up to most of these houses on the hill, and nowadays, those stairs, the closest thing, you had to driveway. So that really meant you had to carry up all your building material, all your furniture, groceries, and your kids all up those stairs. As you can imagine, we used to be very fit. And as it's nice to not always have to carry up your own groceries, the locals did employ the even fitter younger high schoolers of Ketchikan to do grocery delivery services for them. Our first Instacart. Any questions about that?
What's the street name?
The street name for that one? So that is just a continuation of Front Street, I believe. And so some of them will have their own street names, like we passed Barber Street and Bayview Street, a little bit closer to Hopkins Alley at the end of it, and then also Harborview Street, which is going up to that kind of condo, apartment, whatever building that was up there. But some of the other ones you'll see will just be continuations of the flat road. Any other questions? All right. Well, you're probably curious about this big eagle statue right over here. Now, this eagle statue, this is Thundering Wings. This is a totem carved entirely by hand by our world-renowned Tlingit carver, Nathan Jackson. And he made Thundering Wings here in order to tell the story of Ketchikan and of how Ketchikan got its name. Now, before all of the city that you're standing in today, and before any of the settlers that came here to Ketchikan, Ketchikan, as was the majority of Southeast Alaska, was Tlingit territory, as my people have been here for more than 10,000 years. And we were later joined as well by the Haida and the Tsimshian. The Haida coming from the Haida-Gwaii Islands. Coming up a little bit before and after, we had the Russian fur hunters coming to Southeast to harvest sea otter pellets. And they mainly settled over on the Prince of Wales Island. And the Tsimshian came even later on, also from British Columbia, making their way up to Annette Island, making the only Native American reservation here in Alaska, the town of Metlakatla. And all three of our tribes used to be semi-nomadic, meaning we would travel to different camps throughout the year for different resources via canoe. And for my people, Ketchikan Creek specifically was our summer home, as we traveled there to harvest all the salmon that would go up Ketchikan Creek to spawn. Just like us, there were also a bunch of bald eagles there eating the salmon too. So, as my people rowed their canoes along the shoreline up to the head of the creek, they saw all these bald eagles, and the bald eagles saw them. And all these eagles got spooked, and they flew away all at once. And as they flew, they made a thunderous sound with their wings. Now that sound, the thundering wings of an eagle, is described in Tlingit as Kishkahan. I'll say that one more time. Kishkahan. Your turn.
Kishkan.
Okay, I'll say it one more time, and then you'll say Kishkahan.
Ketchikan.
Pretty good. Now, you are having a hard time saying Kishkahan. You can always just say Ketchikan. That was the way that the settlers also tried to say Kishkahan. And that's how they spelled it too. And like many Native American languages, where ours was only spoken, an oral language. That was until the settlers wanted to document our language down on paper, so they wrote down our language based off of their English alphabet. So if you did want to learn Tlingit, there are resources you can find online today. But this coming from a Tlingit kid still trying to learn how to speak Tlingit, good luck. Any questions? Any questions about anything at all? Alright, now, as we're walking by, they're going to be walking by a realty group right here, Coastal, and so they do have listings in their windows, so want to know what average price was for a home around here, you can take a peek in there. Also watch slow enough so you can take pictures of Thundering Wings and slowly get going.
Alright. On to the next. So this is Ketchikan City Hall right here. Pretty little city hall right here. Look at this. Ketchikan City Hall, guys. Look at this. Just a small building. And you see all these cruise ships right here. Docks in their port. So, pretty cool. Got this Gilmore Hotel with a king crab. Okay. Still walking along there downtown. And we'll be back later.
So that we can make a path for anybody coming through if they wanted to walk the sidewalk. So either please up here or back there. Okay. So I bring us all here to Dock Street because we're here all standing used to be the dock. Where I'm standing right here used to be open water. Again, we're walking the original beachfront here. Now the reason for the dock being right here was because way back in the day, that building down there in the corner used to be a salt tree. Anyone know what a salt tree is? You can also take a guess. No, that's a different place here. Something to do with food, yes. What specifically?
Fish.
Fish? What about the salmon? What about the fish? Salted, yes. So, with these salt trees, they would salt salmon to help cure them and preserve them. So, the way they worked, they had the fishing boats come up to the dock here, unload their catch of the day inside, where the saltry workers would prepare and fillet those salmon before putting them in between layers of salt in these big old barrels. They let the fish cure, and whenever it was done curing, load that fish back onto the boats here, ship it out to wherever you needed your salted fish. That was a common practice, at least before we had canneries. And that's because once we got canneries, people quickly realized how much more tasty that canned salmon was compared to that salted salmon. And during our cannery boom, we had 13 canneries here in Ketchikan at one
How many
time.
minutes was
That is compared to the one cannery and one fish processing plant we have today. Now, as for why we only have one cannery when we used to have 13, well, that was largely due to the decline in the salmon population around the early to mid 1900s. However, these canneries, unfortunately, played a large part in the decline of our salmon population. That is because these canneries used salmon traps to catch all their fish. Now these fish traps were placed at the head of salmon spawning creeks and streams, and they were so effective at catching salmon that not enough were able to swim past them to keep spawning in healthy numbers year after year. And it also did not help that these canneries were all owned and operated by companies from out of town, even out of Alaska. So they weren't able to see how much damage that they were doing up here to our local population. Now, our local fishermen, they saw the issue, and they tried to go to the government for help to help get rid of those fish traps. But this was before Alaska was a state. So, unfortunately, not great government representation up here during that time period. So when they went to the government to ask for help, the government didn't really want to get rid of the fish traps. They didn't think that those were much of an issue, especially because these canneries, well, they provide jobs for the town. They thought the locals should be happy about that. But they decided they'd still help out because they know that the salmon were still dying out. So what did they do? but put a bounty on our national bird because they thought all of our bald eagles were eating the fish. $75 per pair of talons. A lot of money back in those days. And fortunately, as you can imagine, a lot of these bald eagles were killed so they became very endangered in North America. And if they're still endangered in your area, that's probably why. So after all these bald eagles got killed off, and the government then saw that the salmon population was still getting worse, because in fact there was no correlation between the eagles and the salmon, they realized their mistake, had to then make the Bald and Golden Eagle Protection Act, which is a part of the Migratory Bird Act that also spans into Canada. And the Bald and Golden Eagle Protection Act is so strict on protecting our birds that unless you are Native American or otherwise permitted, it is illegal for you to even touch a bald eagle feather. Reason for that? Well, if you get in trouble for just touching an eagle feather, you don't want to interact with bald eagles really at all. You can get in trouble for that. And so that went to reduce any further poaching that could be done on our eagles. Because you can't put monetary value on them. Nobody would want to buy them. And if you did have eagle parts in your family before the act was made, the only thing you could do was grandfather them down. Now the reason why we Native Americans get a pass on that rule is because we've been using eagle parts ceremoniously for thousands of years. Very important to our culture. Most of the time, that's the feathers. And even before the act was made, we weren't really contributing to the decline of the bald eagles. And after the act was made, we didn't have to kill any eagles whatsoever because the government made reserves where they would collect the carcasses, corpses, and other parts of bald eagles for preservation and for further research to help monitor the numbers. But they had plenty to spare and an excess of those eagle parts, so that if one of the tribal members wanted to use them for ceremonial purposes, plenty of parts to spare, once again, just simply had to ask. So again, no harm done on at least our parts, even today. So, after the whole eagle escapade happened, again, the locals, I mean, they'd still been saying that.
Okay. Moving to the other side of the street. Well, this walking tour is kind of boring, but you have to like see the beauty of Ketchikan and pay attention to details. So it is, because if you are not, then that's why I'm filming it, so I can rewatch it and know the history of it. But if you are looking for sightseeing, then go ahead and do like this. Stay away from the group, go to the other street and catch the beauty of it, like I am now, just way ahead of them. And yeah, we are still crossing. So number one in Ketchikan is tourism, which is very evident because a lot of boats sail here or go down here every day, and that makes this a very good tourism spot for everyone. So as we go, guys.
Like 3 samples.
Okay, we got 3 samples right here. again.
Just to say hi.
We are here. On to the next, guys. So our special guest today is Salmon King Salmon.
Sir. Sir, no cameras.
A BTS guy. Okay, this is the salmon sample. And we're gonna try it.
Eat it whole.
Okay,
Is it
we're
good?
gonna try it.
Yeah, I took it from the cracker.
Here, can you see me? Okay.
I took your salmon.
Hmm.
Yum.
Okay. Delicious.
And my mom was
Okay, you can see one little totem right here. Beautiful, lovely small town. Yep.
Banner. I have an Abby.
Guys, get all come together in front of me here. Don't worry if you can't see the totem pole very well or feel like you can't take a picture very well right here. I'll see it in there too after my spiel is over to take some pictures. I just stop us here to actually talk about it. So, this totem pole that we have here is the Chief Cayenne totem pole, carved by Israel Shotridge. Now, before I really get into it though, I gotta cover 3 common misconceptions about totem poles. Now I will give the disclaimer, these refer just to really my tribe. I don't know if these are the same rules for other tribes down south or, you know, up in Canada. Not entirely sure. These are just for my Tlingit people I know for sure. So, rules can change. So, first misconception is that you can read totem poles. Now, unless there's a plaque next to it, like this one here, that's as close as you're actually going to get to reading a totem pole. Traditionally, the only way to know the true intent or story behind a totem pole would be to ask the original owner of that pole. Now, many of the totem poles that you see here in Ketchikan today are actual copies of the original totem poles from a little bit longer ago. And since then, many of those owners have since passed on. So now it's up to the families, if not the community itself, to keep telling those stories or showing their true intent. Which then goes into the second misconception that all totem poles tell a story. Not the case. Some of them will tell stories. The other purposes for them would also be as funeral poles, memorial poles, shame poles, house poles, which are purely decorative in your house, and honor relic poles. And honor relic poles tell you what tribe lives in an area or even what clan lives in a house. And the third misconception, if you're familiar with the phrase low man on the totem pole, forget it. Irrelevant to us here, because each of the figures you see on our totem poles, no matter where they are, have the same amount of value as the figures both above them and below them on the pole. Wherever figure was simply up to the artist's depiction. Now, for this pole here, this is a memorial pole. And the figures you can see on the bottom is a brown bear, in the middle is a thunderbird, and on top is a blue heron. Now, normally blue herons wouldn't be depicted really in our artwork or culture just really all that much. But blue herons were the favorite bird of Chief Cayenne's wife. And so they wanted to honor her, and in order to honor her, they had the blue heron be carved on there. Now, just like the first totem we saw, the thundering wings, this one is also made out of western red cedar. We got 2 kinds of cedar trees around here, the red and the yellow. The red was softer than the yellow cedar, better for your larger projects, certainly wide enough and also tall enough to make your largest totem poles and canoes, but it was also good for building houses. Whereas the yellow cedar was better for your smaller projects, more intricate detailed things, as well as tools. And it's firmer, denser, good for that. And you'd find many decorated tools, ladles, bowls, even fishing gear. And the biggest bonus of these two trees is that there is a natural preservative in the wood that makes them last longer than, say, the hemlock would without the artificial preservative punctured into it. Any questions so far? Okay, so before I go ahead and let you take pictures, I gotta cover one more important aspect of my culture, my clan. And in fact, all Tlingit people have their own clan that they originate themselves to. My clan, I've told you at the beginning, was Techori. Techori is brown bear. Now, the actual Tlingit word for brown bear, though, is hoots. And hoots, like the word Tlingit, is spelled differently than the way it sounds. So, hoots, not spelled with an H, it is spelled X-O-O-T-S. And the actual word Tlingit is not spelled with a K or a C, it is spelled T-L-I-N-G-I-T. That's why I say good luck to all that. So, my clan, Techori, brown bear. Tlingit word for brown bear, hoots. Don't know why all that is. Some of the other clans you'll find would also be thunderbird, raven, eagle, frog, beaver, dog salmon, dog shark, wolf, killer whale. I can keep going on and on if you want me to. That's not even all of them. But to make it easy for you to remember, two clans are headmen, eagle and raven. And also known as whitey, all the other clans follow underneath either eagle, whitey side, or raven, whitey side. Now me being a bear, I follow underneath the eagle, whitey, versus a beaver or a frog would follow underneath the raven, whitey. And if I wanted to marry within my tribe, I would have to marry someone of the opposite whitey. Ravens always marry eagles, eagles always marry ravens. I could not marry another eagle, because let's just say that'd be a little too close for comfort. And also that would make my aunties very mad at me. Now, as well as that, I still have to avoid marrying two other clans underneath the raven whitey side, which would be anyone that is the same clan as my father and anyone that is the same clan as my mother's father. Now, since my dad is white, I only have to worry about staying away from one clan underneath the raven whitey, which is Beaver clan, same clan as my grandfather. This is where it starts to get even more complicated. So whenever I say, traditionally speaking, I typically mean something we do not practice to this day. Traditionally speaking, for our people, clan was thicker than blood. We had more allegiance with our own clan, as we saw typically them as our own family members, even after over our own blood relatives. So that means, back in those days, I'd have more allegiance with a brown bear person I just met over my own father. But don't worry, I still love my dad very much. And as well as that, you would not want to do anything that could embarrass your clan, as our society had stricter rules and whatnot. And that helped to keep it a pretty well-oiled machine, I should say. And as well as that, our clans, we did not get them from our father's lineage. As we are a matrilineal society, everything gets passed down through the ladies' side of the family.
Here. One.
Okay, moving along. You can see another totem right there. Those were handmade with an eagle on the top too, so beautiful little town of Ketchikan, guys. building.
Staircase. Stupid. Oh, yeah. It goes all up.
As you folks are coming along, over to your left side, please hop there the right side of the sidewalk.
Okay.
I don't like you.
And you can come a little bit closer if you need to. And I just stopped us here to briefly talk about this even taller totem pole. This totem pole right here is the Ketchikan totem pole, named after the Ketchikan bird on top, which is a mythical bird within our culture. Also known as the Chief Johnson totem pole, because that's who owned it back in the day. But the most notable thing about it is the large gap about halfway up. Now that gap is actually there to symbolize wealth. In our culture, the bigger the gap on the pole, the taller your pole was, the wealthier you were as a person. So Chief Johnson was pretty well off, I'd like to say. Now our wealth was not through any sort of currency like money like we have today, but it is through food because of how seasonal food was. Took a lot of hard work to get it in the first place, and also a lot of hard work to preserve it. And so that is also why, as a mother choosing a husband for your daughter, you would prioritize the future husband being a good hunter and good fisherman. Not just to make sure your daughter won't starve, but also to ensure that she would become a rich wife. Right. So this is also a good place here to take pictures of this big Chief Johnson totem pole. So if you're here for a moment, whenever you're ready, you can meet me across the street and I'll be ready for you.
Picture po na another totem pole.
Okay, some photos here at this totem again. Okay, totem way. This is man-made. You'll be surprised, right? But it's not made by the god. It's made by man. What do you think, guest speaker? No cameras?
Please, no camera, sir.
Okay. We will respect your privacy. No cameras, no cameras. As we cross the bridge. I mean the cross, pedestrian cross. So let's go. Okay, so we are happily going towards our last site to see here at Ketchikan, and I think all of us are excited once she mentioned that it's the last one, so we're pretty excited right now.
Coming up, the best part.
See, are you excited? The best part?
Coming up, the best part, the end of the tour.
Alright, so as you can notice, my special guest earlier used to say no cameras, please, no cameras, but now he is so excited in saying
I am the star
that,
of the show.
that it is the last part, and he is so excited.
You may have seen me in the movies before.
Sexual chocolate. Okay, so last part it is. Let's go. Can we move forward? Double time, guys. Can we walk ahead of her so we can stop? Alright. Okay, guys. Last part. Earlier I said it's 19-minute walking tour.
Not listening.
It's 90 minutes. Right, Julian? Earlier I said that it's a 19-minute walking tour. Now it's a 90 minutes. Everything just changed. Mentally.
Dynamic district.
Yeah. Okay. So we are here. Okay, so so another guest speaker. Why?
Malungkot. Kung mga isang linggo pwede na.
Basically, just any restaurant here. I mean, even like in our Asian restaurants, they have salmon. We have a
You know what that German you
they do sushi now. So I see you get
I'm pretty sure the German UFO is like a
but there's like places here.
You won.
Now if you can all come,
You won.
We're allies of
me here.
I just here. We're allies of
You won.
Right. I want to welcome everyone to our last stop on the tour. I want to welcome you all to Tree Street. This is our famous historical red light district.
Oh,
All the buildings here that you see at Creek Street today, back in the day, used to be full of ladies wanting your money for special services. And as many of them are cute, quaint little guest stores nowadays, they still want your money still. But yes, in a much different way. But the red light district here actually did help out with the community a bit, at least when it came to economy-wise. Now, before logging really sprang up here, at least big time here in Ketchikan, provided jobs with their mills here in the town. A lot of the people that are coming up here for work would actually have to work away from the town, do the logging, fishing, mining, whatever it was. And for those reasons, they'd have to be living off of credit. So when they came back here, they had that credit they needed to pay off. All these ladies down here had cash that those workers could borrow. Kind of like a loan system, especially before we had banks. The other thing too, they also helped out during Prohibition era. Now here in Ketchikan, we do have a tide rise and fall of about 12 to 18 feet every 12 hours, every day.
so this is the red light district.
At least 6 feet above the highest ever recorded
So I
tide.
can smell some rotten fish.
But it is still high enough that if you had a little boat and you're coming out on a high tide under the cover of darkness, you could fit right underneath these houses, where the ladies would be waiting up top by trapdoors, waiting to collect booze from you. Now, with the growing Christian community here in Ketchikan, who didn't really approve of this kind of work, how were they able to keep the red light district open to begin with? Well, Ketchikan was actually split up into two different jurisdictions back in the day. On the north side of town, where we came from, that was called Newtown. That's where most of the settlers went to go live. But down here, this was called Indian Townside. This was the first permanent settlement for our Ketchikan people. And they're invited to live here within the town by missionaries to simulate into modern Christian society. And kind of like the Irish when they came to New York, they were assigned last names. That's why Chief Johnson doesn't sound very native, by the way. And jurisdiction, because it was different over on this side, laws were looser down here, able to keep the red light district open. Now, outside of the lovely ladies over at Dolly's house there, the real star of the show is Ketchikan Creek itself. Because historically, we have seen all 5 species of the Pacific salmon come up here to spawn. Now you'll probably hear this hand trick a few more times going up through Alaska, but I'll introduce it to you right now. In order to remember them, I want you to all put up your thumbs. This is your chum salmon. Thumb on your chum. Also known as fish. On your thumb, yes. On that. Also known as dog salmon or kina. Or your index finger, where you might sock someone in the eye. Your sockeye salmon. Also known as red salmon, or when it's landlocked, it's called coconut. For your biggest finger, your middle finger, that's your biggest salmon. King salmon. Also known as Chinook. For your ring finger, where you might put a silver band, is your silver salmon. Also known as coho. And for your pinky finger, that is your pink salmon, of course. Also known as humpback salmon, or as we just call them around here, humpies. All comes out during the summer and autumn. And all these salmon will die after they spawn. And as you imagine, it gets quite frequent down here in August especially. Now, all these dead fish piling up along the shoreline, you would imagine that there would also be lots of animals picking at those fish carcasses. But it's not really the case, as the animals will actually be picky about eating the salmon even while they're still alive. Now, when the salmon are on the ocean, that is the best time to catch them to eat them. They are fattened up. It's basically anything that swims and fits in their mouth, getting up all that good energy storage so that they can actually make their journey up the creek. Because when these salmon hit the fresh water, they start to go through some changes. They'll get the different colorations, and each species has the different colorations, you know. But they'll also lose their appetite. And their immune system will start to shut down too. Because from that point on, they're only going to be living long enough to make it out the creek. So, for those reasons, these salmon will actually start deteriorating, even rotting while they're still alive, because they get more susceptible to diseases. So, seals, you'll see plenty of harbor seals and creatures. Hell, you might even see one today. Yeah, yep, there he is. Good timing.
My icebreaker fell.
Your what?
My empty icebreaker thing fell.
Well, are you?
No.
Alright, good.
Have a good sound. Oh, she said she wants to do that one.
Now turn your attention back to me. If you can.
Okay.
Anyone needs to use the restrooms? Closest restrooms by are going to be up at our Historical Museum. There's 2 ways to really get there. You can either head straight up the sidewalk here, go past that big Ketchikan totem pole, up to the little top of that hill there. You'll see a bus shed. On the side of the bus shed is the museum sign. Or you can walk up Creek Street, go cross the Red Bridge there, go to the start, right in front of the red building, walk it up, go to the end where you'll see a big bridge going back across, go to that parking lot there, museum, right next door. Now, if you want to keep walking around, you can head up Merryman's Trail, see the viewing platform for the salmon ladder and the waterfall and a little bit more of the creek. Go up Merryman's Trail, but to know the story behind Merryman's Trail, you have to go talk to the ladies over at Dolly's house. And to get back to your ship, it's as easy as following the water all the way back to berth 4, or again, you can take the free downtown shuttle, goes to every stop about every 20-30 minutes. The closest stop going northbound is going to be up at the museum, up there right in front of it. Again, every 20-30 minutes. And with that, thank you for coming along with me on this tour.
Thank you.
And I hope you do some great exploring of Alaska and Ketchikan. Hope you get some good eating and some good local shopping while you're here.
Alright. Thank you. Alright, so that concludes our vlog for today. Thank you, Solen. And see you on our next travel adventure. And say bye to them.
Here's a pink salmon.
Alright.